So Rick, what was the reaction of government people you talked to when you first told them about a mini-grid that you wanted to put in Kenya?
Well, so this is an interesting point, right? I think in the larger sort of question of policy, sort of, it's a bit of a chicken and an egg thing, right? Because when we went to Kenya and we said to the government we want to do this, there was no framework whatsoever, right? That they just relied on the Rural Electrification Authority and the National Utility to do this work, to do sort of any electrification work, and nobody had ever come to them and said, hey, we would like to do a large-scale project on a private basis. And so we had to do a lot of work with them and with a lot of lawyers involved and stuff over a long period of time to sort of say, this is where it's going to go. So we basically wrote a license from scratch based on no policy and based on just general agreement between us and the regulator and the rest of the government about what we wanted to achieve and how it could be done. And so that's a critical learning point, right? Because they were willing to do this. Because we had already, by the time we came to them, we already had mini-grids in operation for several years that we operated based on a letter that I got from the minister that said, hey, yeah, we like this, go ahead and do it and keep us posted. Right, and one of the things they said, like, the only reason you got this because you were the guys that actually came here and built something and then came and asked us for something. Right, and so, which is a big risk on our part to take, which is not something I would recommend that many people go out and do. Right, and so, especially not people like Martin. Right, and so, this is where the chicken and egg comes in. Like, we're building a similar process in Nigeria right now, and there actually we find that the government has preempted this, and they've actually already developed a policy, which has already taken in a lot of our, like, they basically kind of came and asked, like, you guys are practitioners, tell us what you need. Right, and they asked a few other people, they got support from, I think, GIZ, and they already put in a framework in place that said, look, we really want this, and this is how we think we should be guided, and can you work with this? Right, and so, which is a very different approach, and I think Kenya is now also going through those motions, and I'm seeing many, many countries that we go to talk to ministers and whatever about doing these developments, that they're in these sort of throes of developing a framework that could work, and many people are interested, but what they need is an actual practitioner to tell them, this is what works, this is what does not work. Right, and that's where the chicken and egg comes in. Most countries do not have entities there trying to develop this at scale yet, because it's a very small industry, right? Which is part of the reason why East Africa is a little bit ahead, because most of us are in East Africa, right? And some of us are in Nigeria, and you know, there's a few things going on here and there, but you know, it's not something that has spread across the entire continent yet. And so I think that's also where the AMDA and other, even the World Energy Council should play a role, is to make sure that some of these lessons are somehow ending up in a central place so we can go through this a little bit quicker and we can all learn from the same things, rather than spending 10 years before all 54 countries in Africa have, you know, some form of regulation.
So it's not a case of build the policy and then they will come. You need the companies there.